2,000 people died per day in Rome as the virus ravaged the city. The disease spread throughout the world. It did not discriminate. Rich and poor alike were struck down, and the powerful became powerless. The year was 189 of the Common Era, and the virus was smallpox. It ravaged the empire. Many historians speak of this Antonine plague as the beginning of the end for the Pax Romana. A gentleman who rejoiced in the name of Sir John Bagot Glubb was an army general and historian who studied 11 empires, starting with the Assyrians in 559 before the Common Era, and ending with the British in 1950. So John determined that each followed a remarkably similar pattern from birth to demise, spanning a period of about 10 generations. Each went through 7 stages of empire. So John identified these stages as the age of the pioneers, and then this was followed by the age of conquests, and then the age of commerce, followed by the age of affluence, and then the age of the intellect. The age of decadence leads finally to the age of decline and collapse. A universal pessimism, he says, gradually pervades the people and itself hastens the decline. Frivolity, says Glubb, becomes the main occupation. Gladiatorial shows, chariot races and athletic events, of course, were the Romans' passion. The Byzantine Empire, they had the rivalries of the greens and the blues in the hippodrome, and this attained the importance of a major crisis. So, judging by the time and space allotted to them in the press and television, sporting activities are those which chiefly interest the public mind in our world today. It is interesting to note that the first group allowed to travel to Australia's shores since the COVID-19 restrictions has been a football team. The heroes of declining nations are always the same. It's the athlete, the singer, the actor, the entertainer. The word celebrity today is used to designate a comedian or a football player or a reality TV personality, not a statesperson or a scientist or a literary genius. Glubb notes that another remarkable and unexpected symptom of national decline is the intensification of internal political hatred. Now, Glubb was a person of his time, and I certainly would not want to interpret his findings in many of the ways that he did. But I do find many of his observations interesting when applied to the modern Western Empire, especially the United States and its close allies like Australia. COVID-19 has focused our minds around such issues, and we continue to ask, what's next? As stated, Glubb timed the rise and fall of an empire at about 10 generations. That's 250 years. Perhaps Victoria's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Anneliese van Diemen, had a point when she linked the 250th anniversary of Captain Cook sailing into Botany Bay and the effects of the coronavirus. According to Glubb, our time is up. Interestingly, what happened after the fall of the Roman Empire, when the old power structures and domination systems fell apart, was the forming of small, self-sustaining communities. These communities eventually evolved into the monastic movement, which became a repository of wisdom and learning, care and hospitality throughout what we arrogantly call the Dark Ages. If Western Christianity has a future in a post-empire world, perhaps it is a case of Back to the Future. Small communities of care and responsibility and hospitality where wisdom is valued and preserved, where a Jesus-shaped economy of compassion is lived out. This is, of course, not exclusive to Christianity as an institution. It is relevant to everyone, those of faith traditions and no faith tradition at all. If this can be our intentional response to the current crisis, then we will witness not only the death of an empire, but also the birth of a kingdom. Jesus spoke of nothing else other than what he called the kingdom. His words were a direct challenge to the accepted view that the Pax Romana, the so-called peace that Roman civilization brought, was the only way to have an ordered society. The kingdom he lived into being was a just society, where the poor were lifted up, debt was forgiven, and the celebrity was actually the one who bucked the system, not colluded with the domination system. Jesus told his followers that the kingdom was at hand, and perhaps that was never truer than it is today. Maybe, just maybe. This time we can realise the truth of his words, that this kingdom of connected, gracious and compassionate humanity was within us all along.